Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Ojibwe, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Carrie Linklater. I am your chairperson this afternoon. I am joined on the panel via Zoom by Mr. Jerry Arnell and Mr. Richard Whitbread. Our city secretary is Ms. Crystal Harland, and our city assessor is Mr. Jonathan Spacek. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Please kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparison of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. Please note, the Board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at the hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the Board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. This afternoon, we will be hearing items 1, 3, 4, and 6 on our docket. Ms. Harland, please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony.
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. Assessor, would you please state your full name?
Jonathan Spacek.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, would you please state your full name?
Marcelo Navarro.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Navarro and Mr. Spacek.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
We will start with item number 1 on the docket. Dr. David Friesen Drive, and there appears to be no points of appeal on this property, so Mr. Spacek, whenever you would like to begin.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We are looking at file number 24-1485, roll number 0609323640, address 1 Dr. David Friesen Drive. This has a 2025 value of $19,716,000. You'll see on the main page under the property description, you can see it's one of our large OFSs, so we have a total leasable area in this building of 65,033 square feet across 3 floors. If you scroll to page 2 and 3, as I described the property, you can see the quality of this build. It's a Qualico home office built in 2010. It's right in Sage Creek, so if you look at the bottom of page 2, you can see it's at the corner of Dr. David Friesen Drive. and Burning Glass Road, but this is just off of Sage Creek Boulevard, so we're just off of Lodge for this one. You can see also just at the top of page 2, again, this property does have underground parking as well, so it's one of our nicer, larger offices, suburban offices. You can see on, and then I'll just start now if you want to make a note. I'm actually making a recommendation today. I know it's not accepted on the agent's behalf, but I do believe in this one we have a original rental rate buyer model of $23.80 blended. I'm adjusting it to $22 a square foot. So I'm making the change to $22 a square foot as when I've tried to find some large OFS comparables. I believe $22 makes more sense. This brings the total value of the property to $18,190,000. So just going forward, that is the value I'm asking for today.
Okay. Mr. Spacek, could you just repeat that, please?
I just adjusted all the total blended rent to $22, and that comes to a total value of $18,190,000.
I thank you. Mr. Navarro, would you be accepting?
I wish I could, but unfortunately, the client declined.
Right.
We did speak with them about it, and unfortunately, they just said no.
All right, that's fine. Thank you. We'll proceed. Thank you, Mr. Spacek.
No problem. So if everyone can just turn their attention to page 5. You'll see I've included 4 OFS comparables. You will notice these range in size from 9,580 square feet to 16,000 square feet. The rental range is from $1,792 to $2,186. Again, it's almost impossible, at least on my end, to find a newer OFS built in 2010 that has 60,000+ square feet. So buildings like this are commonly built. If they are built, they're owner occupied. You can see the new Payworks building, or even the older Payworks building on Waverly, and they're building a new one on the south end of the city. Some of these larger OFSs, they're just owner occupied, so there's no comparable rents. But even when I look at the smaller ones with some 2005 builds, tried to find some newer OFSs with larger sizes, even that was difficult on its own. The quality of this building, in my opinion, very nice, built 2010, has underground parking. It's kind of, one of our higher-ended OFSs, in my opinion. I think that $22 a square foot makes sense for a property like this, especially combined with, if you look at our page 6, the workup, we're putting a 7% cap rate on this. So for our OFSs, this is on the higher end of cap rates, especially for newer builds. But again, because of its size, I think being on the higher end at 7% can make sense, because if it were to be leased out, it would, be a harder hunt for a tenant. But again, if you turn to page 8, we have a capitalization rate chart. You're going to see, for something like this, we have suburban A and B OFS, which I'm sure you've seen before, but it's the three bottom rows of our first cluster in the office rows. You'll see our 20th to 80th percentile for suburban A and B OFS is 5.25 to 6.75, so we are above the 80th percentile on that. And then if you look what Colliers is reporting for suburban B OFS, they're at 6 to 7%, so we're on the high end of that. CBRE 7 to 8%, so again, low end of CBRE for suburban B, but high end for the suburban A, and then Cushman Wakefield showing 6.25 to 7% for suburban A and 7.75% for suburban B. So again, when looking at the cap rate, it looks fair to me at 7%. And you'll notice the last few pages are the mailer sent in by the owner, but it looks like they've put a book rent in place, but again, it is owner occupied, so I'm not sure what they're putting in there for rent income, but it must be for their books. But again, there's no information on there for me other than expenses. But yeah, pretty straightforward in that sense. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Whitbread?
Would it be fair to say your new NOI would be $1,147,160?
My new NOI?
Yes.
I believe, if my math is correct, with $22 blended, 6% vacancy, 3% expenses, $8 shortfall, my NOI is showing $1,273,320. And then dividing that by 7%, I believe, gets you $18,190,000. Well, 190,288 rounded down to 18,190,000. But I will just do the math to make sure as well. Yeah, 1,273,320 NOI divided by 7% gets you 18,190,288 or 286. Yeah.
No, I have no other questions. Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Arnell?
No questions, thanks.
Just a couple, Mr. Spacek. Did you happen to inspect this property?
I've never been in this building, no.
Okay. Do you have any notes on when it was last inspected?
Not with me, no.
Okay. You didn't read them, look at them?
I mean, I did. I just don't. I look at so many every day. I don't have them memorized. I don't know. I can't remember this one.
There. Thank you. All right. That is all my questions. Mr. Navarro, if you would like to give us your brief.
Yes. So, number 1, Dr. David Friesen Drive. This is in Sage Creek. Well situated, and it's a good, nice building, so I won't disagree with the assessor on that. In terms of its general and overhead view, you can see that on page 6. This was built in 2010, and I would agree with the assessor that there aren't too many examples of this type of building simply because of the case that it's owner-occupied. We do see newer office buildings that have multiple commercial units in them, but this is just one large owner-occupied building. Let's turn to page 13. So this would be the main reason I'm speculating, but I know that the client knows something about this because they're in this business. They have a residential development wing, which is Qualico, but there is also a property management wing where they manage different types of properties. So they are kind of self-aware of this, of the marketplace. So it is 65,033 square feet. That's what we have. The assessor has used 2380. And you can see you can see that the average rent in the chart there is 1780. The median is 19. The ones that are highlighted in green are ones that I kind of wanted to focus on because they are the newer builds. You can see the 365 Osborne multi-floor. There's basically one tenant there and 75,986 square feet. So I guess that would be the one comparison in the marketplace. It's not that much older than the subject. It's only about 5 years older. 2006 or 2005? I can't even read that.
2006.
2006. Okay, so it's 4 years older. The lease started in January of 07, and there was a step in January 2022, so not that long before the reference date, 1425. 14 Fultz is also another one. That one is 25,600 square feet. 2202, again, much smaller space. Lorimer, 900 Lorimer. This is two properties in one. One is a flex warehouse, and the other one is an office building. Actually, Mr. Whitbread heard this one with me yesterday, so he should be well versed on that one. So there are two units there, and obviously the spaces are different, and I believe I double counted one as well. So, but $11,979. The rent is $21. It's a much smaller space, and 1661 Portage Avenue. You can see there also that one is $14. Main Street, there is one that's built in 2000, $31,317. The rent, the lease started in August 2022. Goes to July 32. That's 10-year lease, $13. It's 865 Main Street, so I don't necessarily think it's as good as the subject. So we do agree that $13, $14 would probably be way too low for the subject. So we've put in the average of these at $1,780, and that's what we used. The only thing that I can say about the rent that's in the assessment, which was, I believe, over $23, is that we simply couldn't find anything that could get us there. So there was basically nothing in the marketplace that we found that was that could represent a rent that would be, I think, that we could use for the subject. So we had to do our study. We looked at quite a few properties. That's a large list of properties that I submitted. Came to an average of about 1780. Obviously, there are some variances in ages in terms of the subjects for the rent comparables that I've used, but I've tried to highlight some of the ones that are newer in age at least. In terms of the vacancy and collection loss, we don't disagree with the city. 6% is what we would have used. The shortfall is $8. Non-recoverable expenses, that's that 3% allowance, the same that the city is using. And in terms of the cap rate, if you turn to page 17, this is basically the summary. So again, $1,780 is the rent per square foot applied to 65,033 square feet. That gives us the rent of $1,157,587. Vacancy at 6% gives us net effective of $1,088,182. The shortfall, just making sure I have the correct shortfall there. $8, yeah, $8. And then the non-recoverable expenses are that 1% and 2% there, combined 3%. So your expense allowance is $63,860. The net operating income is $1,024,272. Obviously, you can see that we're lower on the cap rate than the assessor, and that's based on just the location, the condition of the building. It is a very good building, so it would technically be at the lower end of the spectrum on our cap rates. And then you can see on page 16 that for 2025, our suburban A, and we would classify this as an A class in the suburban areas, start at 6.25 to 6.75 for sure. It's a 6.25. And, that captures a lot of things, not just the risk in the property, but also the location, the type of building it is, which is a really well-designed building. It's nice. I've been there for a meeting. I haven't inspected it completely, but I have been there for a meeting. So we get an indicated market value of $16,388,358, rounded to $16,388. And in the appendix, just some other additional information, the building dimensions, and the income and expenses that were submitted by our client. And I am open to questions.
Thank you. Mr. Smacek, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Arnell?
Just wondering, do you have any pictures of the comparables you used, the ones you highlighted in green?
I didn't. No, sorry. You know, I would go just by the ages. I mean, they're going to be nice. 365 Osborne is, I believe, the MTS building, so I don't know if you know it.
I actually do know it, and it's not a nice building.
Oh, okay. Well, then you would see the rent there.
Right.
So we've scaled that rent up, 1780, but we're not necessarily disagreeing on a lot of matters here. And in fact, you know,
Just a case,
yeah, and yeah, that's about it. Just a rent. We have a different opinion on the cap rate, even. I mean, we've gone lower to suggest that the building is actually very good.
Okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, what is taking place on item number 2, Fultz Boulevard? What is there in that building?
Just a regular office building, I believe. It's in an industrial district, so it's not as well placed as the others. So ours is specifically kind of the subject is kind of in the town center. So you know that Sage Creek is kind of designed in a town center fashion, and that office building is kind of the centerpiece of the town center, apart from the commercial side of it, the strip malls and the other shopping centers that are in that area. But for an office building, it is strategically placed kind of in the town center.
Okay.
No, Fultz would not be the same situation. It's in an industrial neighborhood, hidden away.
And what about 900 Lorimer?
Lorimer is the same thing, industrial neighborhood, kind of hidden away. Mr. Whitbread, again, would know about this one because we argued this one just yesterday, I believe. That one is very poorly located in our opinion. It's by the Golf Dome, if you know where the Golf Dome is. So that, to us, is not where you would want to place an office building. An office building should be placed on a main thoroughfare where there is high traffic and high visibility. That's generally where office buildings are placed.
Right. Okay. Did you have a chance to inspect any of these comparables?
I have been in Fultz. Sorry, I have been in Lorimer. I haven't been in Portage. Osborne, no. I have partially been in the subject as well.
Okay.
So the only one that I can speak to really concisely is Lorimer, because I've done a complete walk through that entire office building.
Okay. Can you speak to the finishings?
In which one?
Lorimer.
Nice finishing. So the third floor is completely occupied by A&S Homes, who owns the building, so it is an owner-occupied situation on the third floor specifically. The finish is very nice. The second floor, which is Book & Partners, it's an accounting firm. Also nice finish. In general, it's a nice building. It just has its issues, and they stem from, I think, general location. And there may be some other factors involved, but not as strategically placed not as strategically placed as the subject is. The subject is a better location.
And can you just speak briefly to the finishings on the subject property? You had indicated you
So-
were there for a meeting?
Yes. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Superior finishes. So much like you would see in any top office building.
All right. I thank you. That's all my questions. Do either of you have a wish for a summation on this property?
I'm okay, thank you.
No, I'm okay.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 3. And I believe this property has a preliminary issue, Mr. Spacek, correct?
It does, yes. We're asking
Yeah.
for non-compliance due to not receiving the mailer, and I can go through the evidence when requested.
Okay. So if you want to take us through the non-compliance?
Yes, absolutely. If everybody could please just scroll down to page 9. You'll see at the top of page 9 I included a certified mailer that was sent out June 9th, 2023. You can see at the top left of the page, it has a tracking number that ends 178CA. So this is the mailer we sent out. And you'll see we sent it out to 1385 Niagara Road, P4 Management Group, Inc. And then if you scroll down to page number 14, we have the same tracking number ending in 178CA, and this is information on the delivery. So you can see as you go up June 12th at 11:56 a.m., it was delivered with signature available. And if you turn to the next page, page 15, we have the same tracking number, item number 17, it ends with 178CA, and you'll see we have a signature received. And so, again, I'm trying to show here that the mailer was sent and delivered to the subject property, to the owner, P4 Management Group. It was received to that building, and we never received a mailer back for 2022. So, when this comes up, we get no information on the property, and it's especially important on a year where we're using that information for reassessment. So, and these are the cases where we have to ask for non-compliance.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, did you have any questions?
I have no questions. And just to state, I followed up on this as well, and I don't think we have a case in terms of defending the position on the penalty, so it will be accepted.
All right. Mr. Arnell, any questions to the assessor?
None at all. Nice.
And Mr. Whitbread?
I have none, thank you.
Mr. Spacek, I just have one. I think I know what the answer is. Just looking for the page now. Your page 15 with the signature.
Yes.
I'm going to assume you don't know whose signature that is.
CM, no, it's just, they just put CM. I don't know who CM is.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Navarro, again, you're not arguing this?
Not at all.
All right, thank you. We will just take a short recess and deliberate this item.
Just a moment, Madam Chair, I'll take us offline. I just need to get the necessary people in the waiting room. Put those gentlemen back in, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let's see here. Okay. All right.
All right. The panel has deliberated this matter, and we are going to grant the non-co-op to the city. So, Mr. Navarro. Oh, you're muted.
I just asked him to unmute.
Good?
Oh.
There we go.
Yeah, I got that. 1385 Niagara Road. If you're not familiar where Niagara Road is, it's near the eastern side of the boundary of the city of Winnipeg, just past La Jamodier, going east. So this is, the first thing that I'll comment on is that this is classified as an office property, but it's not an office building per se. It's not built as an office building. It doesn't have the features of an office building. It's really designed as a flex warehouse. So when you look at it, and you'll see some of the pictures there, that it doesn't share a lot with, it doesn't have a lot in common with an office building. So what we've done specifically is try to find situations of office leases that are in industrial neighborhoods. And this property is essentially in an industrial neighborhood. So what's in there? A retail area, some office area, and that would be specifically pertaining to the retail. And there is a warehouse area. So again, that is not typical of an office property, but it was classified as an office property, so we went with that. On page 6, you can see an overhead picture of this property. And right away you can start to see what I'm talking about likely with referring to this as a flex warehouse. Just from the roof line, you can see that that's not typical of an office building. But on page 7, you can see the outside, and you can see the shipping areas in the back there where those vehicles are. So as we move on in the brief, I'll ask you to turn to page 13. So for the purposes of this report, the leasable area is 16,131 square feet. And in terms of market rent, you can see there that the model market rent is $13.43. That's the assessor's rent. Altus has reviewed the following office leases that share similar zoning with the subject. So these are in M1 and M2 zoned areas. Based on the comparisons below, a nearby rent at 1333 Niagara Road East achieved a rent of $6.50 per square foot. We've used the picture of that one in there. But we've applied a rent of $10 per square foot. So if you turn over to the next page, you can see what that works out to. 161,310. Vacancy is 6%. Shortfall is 8. Non-recovered expenses is 3. And then I'll ask you to turn to page 17. So here's the workup. And again, we have an income of 161,310, an expense allowance, a vacancy allowance of 9,679, effective market income of 151,631, expense allowance of 12,292. That gives us a net operating income of 139,340, and we've used a capitalization rate of 7% on this. 1,990,565. In terms of the capitalization rate, I mean, again, you saw that our office A goes from 625 to 675, so our office B would start. It starts at 675 exactly. So we're a little bit higher than the lower end of the B class. But I mean, from our perspective, that's just location. It's not well located from our perspective. So, but we've classified it, at 7%, which I think is understandable. And the end value is 1,990,565. That would be 1,991,000 rounded. And I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Mr. Spatchik?
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Arnell?
No questions, thanks.
And Mr. Whitbread?
I have none, thank you.
Mr. Navarro, did you inspect this property?
I have. It's been quite a few years, though. But from what I understand, there haven't been many changes. And I have been in regular contact with this client. I handled their vacation home in Lac-Des-Panis, so I've kept in contact with them, and they told me that they haven't done anything since I was last there, about 2018 or so.
Okay. Can you speak to the condition of the property then?
Yeah, it's in good condition. It's not in poor condition. I wouldn't say that it's top-notch finish, nothing like that. It's got a large warehouse area in the back too. So when I mentioned the fact that it's not built as an office building, it really isn't. It's built more like a flex warehouse. So, that's kind of where the rents, I think, are that we're suggesting is appropriate, simply because it's not an office building.
Okay. No. That's all my questions. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Oh, yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. When you look at that space, just in Navarro, I recognize there is a kind of a customer service area at the front end.
Yeah.
You've been in the building, you'll know
Yeah.
that as well. And it consists of a number of desks or workstations where you can take your equipment in and have it serviced.
That's right.
Sometimes they'll do it right there in front of you. But it's a pretty clean place in the front end.
Yeah.
Do you know what square footage that entails?
I'm going to guess around probably the office and front areas are probably about 40 to 50% of it.
So about, let's say 8,000.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 to 8,000.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? And the back end is, as you say, warehouse. Is it as clean as the front end? Have you been in the back end?
Yes, several years ago. It's not finished like the front end, but it is a warehouse area, and it's good location. Good condition. How would I say? I would say that it's probably, sorry to go back to this thing of 900 warmer, but you've been in those flex warehouses in there.
Yeah.
Some of them are large spaces. They're well finished. So this would be very similar. It's just an open space. So,
Is it fair to say that because it's in electronics, typically, it's pretty clean space?
I would think so, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Spacek, if you would like to proceed.
Thank you very much. It's a treat to go second once in a while. So what I will start with here is the file number 24-C381, roll number 060929-16400, 1385 Niagara Road East. We have a 2025 value of $3,137,000. And again, it's been over what this exactly is, the characteristics, and where it's located. So if everybody could turn to page 5, our workup for this property, again, 16,131 square feet at $13.43. So we have a 6% vacancy for OFS as a cycle. We have 3% expenses, $8 shortfall, and a 6.05% cap rate. And just to bring some clarity, because I was asking myself the same questions, but from my understanding, there's approximately, and we have it all as one space as OFS, but again, I'm not in disagreement that it is partially office, partially warehouse. The latest notes when somebody last went over this one was 10,754 square feet of office space and 5,377 square feet of warehouse space. So just to give you a clear idea, if you were to adjust, again, what I'm showing today on page 4, if you go up one up, is comparables for the office space. So you can see I've chosen some larger office spaces around the city. You can see from 8,500 up to 15,000 square feet, all recent leases. Again, a lot of them are older buildings, but there's a rental range of $14 up to $17.92. the question is for ours, is $13.43 fair for a blended building like that where it's part warehouse, part office? I think if you were to adjust that smaller portion of the building and lower the rent a bit, that, again, I'm not in disagreement to that. I think if the building's partially warehouse, some of it could be warehouse rent. So I would leave that up to you to decide. But again, some of the things Marcel are making make sense to me. And yeah, $3,137,000. That is my presentation. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, any questions for the assessor?
So just to make sure, your rent comparables are basically office buildings, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's the only question.
Mr. Arnell?
No, so you'd be willing to split like 10,000 and 5,000 roughly.
Yeah, roughly. I think that 5,000 square space could be argued to have a lower rent for warehouse space. It goes for lower than office space. I don't have that exact adjustment in front of me, but again, I think that's reasonable. It doesn't seem unrealistic to me.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Whitbread?
It's give me an indication of where your cap rate fits on your chart on page 7.
So I would say on this chart for the city of Winnipeg, suburban A and B OFS, again, our 20th to 80th percentile for a suburban B is between 5.25 and 6.75. So again, we're at 6.05, I believe. Yeah, 6.05. So again, that's where we are within that range. And then I would argue that Colliers, CBRE, Cushman & Wakefield, their ranges aren't really for buildings of these sizes on the smaller end. They are comparing it to much higher investment grade buildings, which we don't have a ton of. But if you're looking at what the ranges they're showing for suburban B, you have between 6 and 7% for Colliers, 7 and 8% for CBRE, and 6.75 and 7.75 for Cushman & Wakefield. That's for the office portion.
Sure. And because I think you indicated offices 10,470. That would weigh pretty heavily in your calculations.
Yeah, well, that's where we have the majority of, like, we have it all as OFS space, but the building is 2/3 office, 1/3 warehouse from the notes I have.
Was there any consideration to giving a split in the rent between the warehouse, a lower rate for the warehouse and a higher rate for the office?
Honestly, somebody put this on the roll in 2006 and determined it should go on as this. I'm not sure what consideration was taken for doing this split or not, but that's what it was put on as. And could it be updated in the future? Maybe. It might be one that could be looked at.
Gotcha. Thank you. No further questions.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Spacek, you've just indicated that perhaps sometime in the future this building could be reconfigured in terms of the assessment. So who would make that decision?
So it's a good question. I'm not sure if it will be changed. I'm not sure if somebody will come across this one and it needs to be, or if to be honest, I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer it.
So that wouldn't be you putting it forward?
I mean, it's a possibility. I'm not sure where I stand confidently on this one, and I'm not, I would have to review it again, and it could be put forward by me, but I can't answer for sure right now.
Okay. I'm not trying to pigeonhole you. I just am curious because this is not the first time I've come across a property like this. So
Absolutely.
I'm just always wondering what the city's procedure is. Do they highlight it or?
Yeah, no, I would be. I think it would either be. I guess in theory, the owner can always request why do you do it this way, and send an email. Maybe it gets flagged that way, or if I were to put an email forward and say, hey, this one might need to be cleaned up, that's another way. But there's no exact procedure for it, to be honest.
All right. And you did not inspect this property?
I have not been to this property.
No. Sorry, and also you did not inspect any of your comparables?
No, I've not been in any of them recently.
No. All right. I thank you. That's all my questions. Mr. Navarro, do you wish for any summation on this property?
Summation, maybe some comment on the line of questioning that you just had, Madam Chair. Maybe what I'll do is I'll approach the city and send them a letter about possibly changing the class of how this property is classified. Because this isn't the first year that we've dealt with this, where we've said this is not an office property. It should be an industrial property. It's an industrial area. It's built like an industrial property. And there are tons of examples of properties throughout the city that are industrial buildings that have office tenancies and retail tenancies. So it's not an issue. It's what it's built as. And I think what I'll do is send the city that letter and say that this property should be reclassified to an industrial building.
All right. Bravo.
Thank you.
And Mr. Spacek?
Oh, for summation? No summation needed, thank you.
All right. Thank you both. We will move on to item number 4, which is 30 Spears Road. And I believe there are no points of appeal on this property. So Mr. Spacek, whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. We're looking at file number 24-2330. This is roll number 0601955100, 30 Spears Road. We have a 2025 assessed value of $3,361,000. This is a 1977 built office. It has a leasable area of 23,370 square feet. You can see where it's located on page 2 at the corner of Lajamodier and Maginot Street. You'll see it's the school division headquarters for Frontier School Division. Again, there's a lease in place for this property. You can see on page 3 the pictures of it, 2 stories, a parking lot on the side of it. And if we scroll down to page 6, you will see the workup for this property. So we have 23,370 square feet at $11.33. Again, this is model generated. We have a vacancy loss of 6%, expenses at 3%, shortfall at $8, and a capitalization rate of 6.85%. This is how we get that total value of $3,361,000. I've included some, again, similar to our last property, some larger OFSs to try to try to see if the rental rate makes sense. On page 5, again, we have the 6 comparables across the city, newer leases, ranging from 8,500 square feet to a 15,000 square feet, and a rental rate range of $14 to $17.92. Again, due to the age and condition and location of this property, our model rent is at $11.33, so well below all of my comparables. If we turn to page number 13. So what I've done is I've included the lease in place for this property. I can assure you that I actually checked just to see because I thought it was interesting, but there is a lease in place from 2010 to 2025, an annual rent of $11.33. We actually there's no override on the property for rent. It's just a model generated rent of $11.33, and it's just funny that it works out to the exact same as the net rent in place from my understanding. So I believe I've covered it all. I'm just going to make sure I haven't missed anything, but that is all of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nefero, questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Arnell?
Just in regards to the vacancy rate, being a single tenant, wouldn't the norm be a little lower vacancy rate, 6%?
Yeah, because we do the fee simple approach to value, and to be equitable, we can't adjust based on if they're owner occupied or if they're tenancy. What we do is we treat them all the same, and in this case, this is just a full tenant, it's not owner occupied, but when it's fully leased, 0% even for 15 years, we don't adjust it to 0%. They just, again, they get the benefit of the market being at 6%. So, other buildings may not have those 15-year lease in places, and we have to treat them all fairly, if that makes sense. We can't just But looking at the site specifically, if you were to do like the lease fee approach, I would give it a lower vacancy rate than 6% because the vacancy is lower. But yeah, in a case like this, they just get the benefit of the market vacancy being higher.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Whitbread?
Yes. Just looking at your comps on page 5.
Yes.
And I note that most of them are around half the size of our subject property. And one of them being a third the size of the subject property. Is that going to have an impact on the cap rate, the rate on the rent? That kind of scale when thinking?
Well, yeah, I mean, if it was the exact same building and it was, for one of my comparables was twice the size, you could make the argument that the rent would be a little lower. And I think, having my range from $14 to $17 approximately, our subjects at $11, again, I think that $11.33 is fair based on, some of the comparables I looked up.
Thank you. No other questions.
So, Mr. Spacek, you had stated earlier in your presentation that this was, your brief was model-driven, correct?
Yes, yeah, all model generated.
Okay. So, you did not make any changes yourself?
No, this is all how it is in the system for 2025.
Okay. So the model chose this cap rate of 6.85?
Yeah, exactly.
So, in your opinion, do you not think that's a little low for a 1977 building?
I mean, I'm not... I don't know. I guess you could argue it could be. It's for sure. It could be a little low. I mean, I don't know, to be honest, what the cap rate should be for this, if that makes sense. It would have to sell, and then I would have a better idea.
Okay. You did not inspect this building?
I've never been there, no.
All right. Do you have any notes on when it was last inspected?
Not in front of me, no.
No. So, okay. Just curious about the quality of the building. I'm going to assume that is the same for your comparables.
Yes, exactly the same.
Okay. And sorry, you said this was occupied by Frontier School Division?
Yeah, from my understanding.
And are any school divisions in your rent comparables to the best of your knowledge?
No, I don't. I can't confirm.
Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions. Mr. Navarro, if you would like to proceed.
Okay, this is 30 Spears Road. On page 6 and 7, you can see the general location of the property. In terms of the income valuation side, that starts on page 12. And again, we've gone with the same rent that the assessor has gone with, which is the rent in place at $11.33. We've gone with a 7.50 cap rate. I don't have too much information on the background of this property. I've never been in it myself. So in terms of where the cap rate should lie, it's in a poor area, but I mean, just looking at the pictures that the assessor has provided, it doesn't look like it's in poor condition. So, I think I'll just leave it there. We're looking for $3,070,000, $3,071,000 rounded, and then I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Mr. Spacek?
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Whitbread?
I have none, thank you.
And Mr. Arnell?
No questions, thanks.
I also have no questions. Does either party wish for a summation?
No summation here, thank you.
Nope, none for us.
Thank you. We will move on then to our last item. Oh, excuse me. I know this is our last item, but does anybody need a short recess?
Fine.
I'm good.
All right. So then we will proceed to item number 6, which is 963 Dugald Road. I believe there are no preliminary issues with this property. Mr. Spacek, if you would like to proceed.
Thank you very much. We have file number 24-3352, roll number 0605121400. This is address 963 Dugald Road. We have a 2025 assessed value of $1,909,000. I will be making requested a recommendation, but again, from my understanding, it's not accepted. But I just want to give you a total value from $1,909,000 to $1,734,000. I will explain what I did here, but this building, you'll see on our income workup that there's 2 income streams: storage warehouse and part office, OFS. As we know, we'll most likely be putting that building that we just spoke about. But we have the storage warehouse. I have made no adjustments, so that income stream will stay the same. But the OFS income stream, I'm changing the rent from $14.45 to $12 a square foot, and I'm upping the cap to 6.2%. And this gives a total indicated market value for the OFS portion of $545,690. And then that works out to that $1,734,000 when it's combined with the $1,189,000 from the storage warehouse income stream. And if you look at my page, so let me just get right here. And if you look at my page number 8, it's a breakdown. You can see both streams, so you can see how that stream 1 will be staying the same, and then the adjustments I stated to stream 2 are the $12 a square foot and the 6.2% cap rate. That's where we get the new $546,000 for the OFS portion. And that gives us that total value of $1,734,000 that I'm asking for today. If you have any questions on that, let me know, and if you don't, I will continue.
And Mr. Navarro, are you accepting of this recommendation?
I wish I could, but we didn't receive instructions on this one, so unfortunately not. But yeah, I mean, what Mr. Spacek is saying on the rent side makes sense. So we'll leave it at that. I guess we'll just have to present in this case.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Spacek, if you'd like to proceed.
Not a problem. So again, my new total value is based on, you can see, 13,234 square feet. This is you can see the split of this property on page 2. So you can see what we have is the storage warehouse portion, the large portion with the drive-in doors, and then we have the office portion at the front of the building there on Dugald Road. It's located at the corner of Dugald and Panet. And again, it is home of J Transportation. I've included some storage warehouse and OFS rents on page 5, so you can see a rent of storage warehouses across the city, all around that $875 to $1029 mark. And we have the OFS rental comparables, again, across the city, newer leases ranging from 1,714 square feet up to 3,900 square feet, with rental ranges of $13 to $17.95. And exact breakdown of the income workup is on page 6 for the storage warehouse. We have $7.96 at 10,000 square feet, 3% vacancy, 3% expenses, $4 shortfall, and a 6.2% capitalization rate. And page 7 is the OFS portion, but again, I'm using $12 for the 3,234 square feet of office space, 6% vacancy, 3% expenses, $8 shortfall with a 6.2% cap rate. Again, that's working out to $546,000. I've also included the mailer sent in on page 11 and 12, and again, I do believe, so I thought I'd put what the rents reported were here, but I can quickly calculate it to let you know. The J Transport Ltd, the 10,000 square feet at 10,000 monthly rent, which works out to $12 a square foot. And then the smaller portion, 2,942 square feet at $23.17 a month, which $23.17 a month works out to approximately $9.45 a square foot. So again, they're reporting them as 2 net leases in place for the 2 buildings. And I don't think I have anything else, so that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Navarro?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Arnell?
Just one clarification on that Stream 2 income.
Yes.
What did you say your total ended up being? 720?
No, it's originally, so Stream 2 is originally 720 by the model, and then my adjustment to it makes it
Is it 545 or 546?
540. Rounded up, it'll round up to 546. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Whitbread?
No, I have nothing. Thank you.
So, just one question in regards to year built and effective year. There's a range. So I'm just wondering, was this building built in 2 portions?
Yeah, exactly. So I had a picture to show. I can tell you because I don't have it memorized which one was first, but I believe originally, yeah. I thought I had checked that just to confirm which one was done first, but I can't tell you. But yeah, built separately.
So in terms of the office, do you know which year?
No, I would be guessing. I thought I had it, but I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. And I'm assuming you didn't have a chance to inspect this property at all?
No, I've never been in it.
Okay. Any notes on the office condition?
No, not in front of me.
No. Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions. Does either party have a wish for a summation?
I still have to present.
Oh my gosh! Thank you. All right. If you would like to proceed, Mr. Navarro.
Okay, thank you. This is 963 Dougal Road. So Bajamodi, turn left. If you're going north, turn right, over the overpass, keep going. If you know this strip, you know that most of these properties in here, with a few exceptions, are predominantly industrial properties. And you can probably tell by the assessor's pictures and mine pictures on page number 6 that this is an industrial building. It's not an office building. What I can tell you about the property itself, so the smaller portion, which is obviously the office area, was constructed in 1965. I also haven't been inside of it, but I assume that certain changes have been made to it. Just based on the outside pictures of it, you can see that they've done some work to it. So 1965 is probably not really where it's at now. And then there is the storage warehouse in the back, which is, it's really just a utility building. I wouldn't call this, because I work on cost as well, I wouldn't call this a warehouse. This is more of a utility building. You can tell by the appearance of it that it's very a light structure. I wouldn't compare it to a typical warehouse. It's 10,000 square feet, and it was built in 1997 with 20-foot wall heights. So there you have to kind of, look at the property and see what the property is in terms of its effective age. Of course, the effective age really is only pertinent if you're doing a cost valuation of it. But from the outward appearance, in terms of the effective age, I would say that it's probably, the front portion is not 1965 anymore. It's probably somewhere in the maybe late 1980s. So you would continuously have to do work to this property, otherwise it would just keep degrading over time. On page 11, you can see my the beginning of my income valuation. So the first portion is the office portion. So we have 2,940 square feet. And we've applied a rent of $8.50 to it. You may ask why we didn't use the contract rent. It's a book rent. So we've had a conversation with this owner in the past, and they've indicated that there is a different holding company for each one, but J Transport and whatever company this is under are essentially the same entities. They have the same shareholders, and so we would view this as a non-arm's length lease. How would I? Let's just say it's not valid. The parties are related, so we'll call it a book rent. We've used $8.50 per square foot. We've used the same parameters for vacancy, shortfall, and all of that the city has used. If we were valuing this as what it probably should be valued, an industrial property, there would be only one income stream here. There wouldn't be two income streams. And a lot of this is not really logical, because when you look at it, we're even applying two different cap rates to these two income streams, which, this would sell as one property. You wouldn't have two income streams and two cap rates. That's just not logical. But on 14, you can see our approach there, again, for the office area, 2,940 square feet, $8.50 rent, vacancy of 6%, shortfall $8, non-recoverables are 3%, and we've got a 7.5 cap rate on this. 284,996, that would come to 285,000 rounded for the office portion. Now for the warehouse portion, we've got 10,000 square feet. We valued that at $8.50. That's just a coincidence. It's not, we didn't plan it out that way, but typically when we look at a storage warehouse or any type of warehouse, we look at what's out there in the marketplace. Just from knowing some of the areas of some of the comparisons in the chart on page 15, those are more designed warehouses. They're not like this property. This property is a very light building, and so we think it deserves a rent accordingly. It's used for truck repair, if anyone is curious about it, what we do inside there. So we've used 4% on vacancy, shortfall $4, management or non-recovered expenses of 3%, and we put a cap rate of 7% on it. When you work that all out, that is $1,107,886 or $1,108,000 rounded. And when you take both spaces, that comes out to $1,393,000. In the appendix, we've included the information that the owner has submitted. And I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Spacek, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Whitbread
No, I'm fine, thank you.
and Mr. Arnell.
No questions, thanks.
And I also have no questions on this property. Gentlemen, need for a summation?
No summation, thank you.
No summation here.
All right. We have heard all the items on the docket this afternoon, and this hearing is adjourned. And Mr. Navarro and Mr. Spacek, as always, I think I can speak for the panel. We always appreciate your presence and your briefs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and a great weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you. And likewise, have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Madam Chair, I'll go take us offline. And can we take a 5-minute break?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Just a moment, please.